نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran in this beautiful verse that I have recited that indeed the most honorable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is he who is most pious. So we understand from this verse that it is not our worldly position, it is not our status, it is not our lineage, it is not our wealth that causes us to be honored in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is our piety that leads to us being honored in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the most pious, to Sayyidina Siddiq Akbar radiyallahu ta'ala an, when he mentions وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى. And this verse, the Mufassirina Ikram have stated, refers to the status of Sayyidina Siddiq Akbar radiyallahu ta'ala an. And in this verse that I have recited, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, here also the one who is most pious refers to Sayyidina Siddiq Akbar radiyallahu ta'ala an. But in order for us to understand the reason behind this verse being revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we turn to the life of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, and it is stated that once Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, he was walking in the marketplace of Madinatul Munawwara, and he came across a slave, and the slave was shouting out and calling out to the people and saying, whoever is going to buy me, he is putting a condition, and he says, whoever is going to buy me, they must not stop me from reading my 5 times namaz behind Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Now imagine, this is a slave. Normally slaves have no say, they have no authority to make any conditions, but yet the slave is standing waiting for someone to purchase him, and he is saying and calling out and saying that no one must stop him from reading his namaz 5 times a day behind Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam if they are going to purchase him. Now all of a sudden, if a person sees that there's a condition being placed by the slave, when people see that a slave is putting conditions on them when they want to purchase him, then automatically a person would be very careful of buying such a slave. And yet the slave continued to call out like this, and eventually one of the Sahaba Ikram, he purchased the slave and he freed the slave. Later on, the slave became ill, and Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam came to nurse the slave himself. And eventually, when the slave passed away, Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam himself partook in the ghusl, and he partook in the burial and janazah of this slave. Subhanallah. From this we can understand that Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam was emphasizing that it was this person's piety that led him to be so honored in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he became so honored that Huzur alayhi salam himself nursed him, and Huzur alayhi salam himself partook in his burial and his janazah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says that the one who is most honored is he who is most pious, Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam practically showed this to us when he demonstrated with a slave who has no value, no worldly status, no lineage, no wealth, but he had such a great honor that he received in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by having such closeness to Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam as his time to depart from this world came. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the true love for Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين والمؤمنات إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.